Hi, everybody. My name is Aliza Sperling, and I'm the director of HerTorah. HerTorah is a project of SVIVAH. SVIVAH is about creating a more nourishing communal faith experience for Jewish women, where we define both Jewish and women very broadly. If you want to be with us, we want you with us, and welcome. We love that we're multi-generational and diverse in backgrounds and affiliations. We come together in celebration and support of women, our strengths, our unique perspectives, our ways of contributing to the world. HerTorah is a project of SVIVAH. HerTorah seeks to bring together Jewish women of all backgrounds to come together, learn together, form deep relationships. We're especially committed to the idea that we can bring together women who would otherwise not really be able to meet with each other, to talk with each other, and help them find their connections. Thank you to those who make HerTorah possible. Thank you to Ariella Mortkowitz and SVIVAH. Thank you to Yeshivat Maharat for your partnership in raising the bar for excellence in Torah scholarship. And a big thank you to the Aviv and Covenant Foundations for their faith in HerTorah to create a unique way of learning in community. Usually, well, I guess there's no usually in COVID, but during COVID, we've been having Zoom gatherings, and those have been wonderful. For Elul, we had the idea that instead of bringing everybody together, especially in August when it's hard to get everybody together, instead we'll have a series of interviews with different women educators, leaders, pastoral educators, who can come and speak to us about what they're thinking about the month of Elul, how they're getting ready for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and seek to have them share their wisdom with us. We're so glad to have you with us today. We're so excited for all the educators that we have lined up for you this month. Please take a minute to sign up for the SVIVAH email list at www.svivah.org. That's SVIVAH.org. And follow us on Facebook and Instagram so that you don't miss any of the phenomenal speakers. We can't wait for you to meet them. And today, I am so excited to introduce you to the fabulous Rabbi Lauren Tuchman. Rabbi Tuchman is a sought-after speaker, spiritual leader, and educator. Ordained by the Jewish Theological Seminary in 2018, she is, as far as she is aware, the first blind woman in the world to enter the rabbinate. She provides consulting to individuals and organizations across the Jewish community on a variety of matters pertinent to disability access and inclusion. She has taught in numerous synagogues and other organizations across North America. She was named to the Jewish Week's 36 Under 36. In 2017, she delivered an Eli talk entitled We Were All at Sinai, The Transformative Power of Inclusive Torah. She is a participant in the Institute for Jewish Spirituality's Clergy Leadership Program, and in 2020, she was honored by the Jewish Orthodox Feminist Alliance. Rabbi Tuchman, I am so glad that you are here. I have to add on a personal level that you have been such an incredible resource for me and for my family, and I really appreciate your friendship.
Thank you, and likewise, I am so thrilled and honored to be here.
Wonderful. So let's get to it. I think, Rabbi Tuchman, that it's really hard to start getting ready for Rosh Hashanah in August. It just doesn't feel like...
No, it really doesn't, does it? It's like it's the summer. It's Elul? Really?
I know. So we are really counting on you to help us start to get in the mood and start to get ready for these really important days. And I wanted to start by asking you about what you think is the role of community and helping people find new paths. You know, a lot of times for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur time, we think about people starting new paths, but often we think about them as individuals. Can you talk to us about the role of community?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this is such a critical issue for women, especially, and for all of us this time of year, because especially after the year and a half that we've lived through and the uncertainties that the new year 5782 bring, I think that having that community in all of its forms is so important because it allows us to be in relationship with other people, and it allows us to then be on our individual journey, but not be isolated in our individual journey. I know something that I've been struggling with a lot, and I'm sure I'm not alone, is the isolation of this COVID time. And even when we're able to be online, and I think the Jewish community and SVIVAH in particular did an incredible job of pivoting and going right online, and the connections that we've made are just absolutely incredible and very real. And part of why that's so important is because it mitigates that isolation. When we're in community with other people, we are able to be outside of ourselves. We're able to really express our joy and celebration with other people and our sadness and how hard it's been with other people, because none of us is okay right now, right? I've heard the expression COVID okay, right? But none of us is actually okay. We are as okay as we can be. And being in the community, especially with Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur coming up, when we think about finding our individual pathways, we also can do that in a way that makes us remember we are not alone in a world that doesn't often give us the opportunity to remember that we are not alone. So that feels so critical to me in Elul, that not only we do the introspective work, I think especially as women, we tend to be very hard on ourselves, and we think about doing the cheshbon and nefesh, the soul accounting this time of year. It's really important to do that work, but I think we especially need to make sure that we are doing that work with others in some way or another. It doesn't have to be anything formal. It can just be checking in and saying, hi, how is your Elul? How are you getting ready for the new year? What's going on? So I think that that's really, really important for us to do, particularly as women in the new year.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think you're right on all levels. This past 15 months or 16 months, I don't even know how long it's been, right, have been so isolating. I think in some ways we've forgotten what it's like to come together as community. And
Yeah.
then, especially for women, I think you're right that there might be a stereotype of women like always being together and, chatting and talking with each other. But I think a lot of the stuff that we do is alone. And I wonder, have you ever, like, have you had an experience, or can you give us some tips in terms of what it means? Picking up the phone, I love that idea. What else could we do during this COVID okay time to
Yeah.
feel more in community?
Yeah, so picking up the phone, if you are able to, maybe on a Shabbat afternoon, if that's part of your practice, taking a walk over to a neighbor's house and just being there outside and just being able to be together on Shabbat, checking in, how are you, making sure people don't feel isolated. I remember when community started doing that, and I thought that was one of the most beautiful things, that in the time when we were most locked down, I remember there were some communities that were saying, if you want somebody to knock on your door on Shabbat just to check in, and really it doesn't have to be only on Shabbat, it can be any day of the week, but I'm thinking of Shabbat in particular because that often is our most social day of the week, right? That is often the day that we are most in community. And so in a world in which that has become less and less true, and we may be spending less time on Shabbat with other people, just a quick check-in. Also, another thing that folks told me about that they're doing, that I'm going to start doing, is giving people treats, kind of like not only on Purim, just as a surprise, like, I have more brownies than I needed. Would you like some? Or I have more bread. Would you like some? Like, just because it's just a beautiful thing to do, and who doesn't? I mean, I say this with care, knowing that, of course, we are all depending on essential workers and all of the challenges with that term and all of the ways in which people are on the front lines. But like, physical mail is so important. And if we can even mail something tiny to somebody, just as a reminder, even a Rosh Hashanah card, just thinking about you in the new year, Happy New Year, just as a reminder that people are thinking of each other.
That's such a beautiful idea, and I am going to write that down and try to remember to do that. I love that idea. So I guess thinking just about this past year, Rabbi Tuchman, I'm wondering if there has been a piece of Torah or a piece of wisdom that has really sustained you and stuck with you during this time.
Yeah, I would say broadly, I have not felt more acutely than I have in the past year how relevant the Parsha of the week is. And this is something that, I would often pre-pandemic, going through the Parsha, really sitting with the Parsha, there would be something that would really inspire me. But I feel like this year, I'm thinking of the Parshiot in Vayikra and Leviticus, Tazria and Metzora, which in so many years, prior to COVID, I would just kind of glaze over. It's like, oh, yeah, we got to get through all of this. And it's about Sara'at and this very complicated skin condition that we're not going to get into now, of course, but just thinking about the ways in which we find ways to help people navigate through really, really hard times. I think that really struck me this year, but really what has sustained me in particular, I would say, is this really beautiful drasha. It's actually on Parashat Chayei Sarah, which, for those who aren't familiar, is in Bereshit, in the book of Genesis. And it's called Chayei Sarah because it's talking about it's actually the death of Sarah, Imenu, Sarah, our mother, is the first thing that happens in that Parsha. And so the rabbis always talk about, well, why is it called Chayei Sarah, the life of Sarah? And the Piasetzner Rebbe, who is often known as the rabbi of the Warsaw Ghetto, although he was much more than that. He has many books, I think 7 or 8 books that he wrote, and unfortunately perished in the Shoah. And he wrote a drash in one of his books called Eish Kodesh, which is a compilation of sermons from the Warsaw Ghetto. And in this drasha on Chayei Sarah, he's talking about suffering and how we can navigate through it. And he says something I think is really amazing, which is that Sarah's neshama, that Sarah Imenu's neshama just kind of flew out of her because she was so aghast at the fact that Yitzchak, her son, was almost sacrificed. And she effectively said to Hashem, I can't take this anymore. I just can't take this. And the Piasetzner says, if somebody like Sarah Imenu, our righteous mother, if she says to Hashem, it is too much for me, this suffering is too much, I cannot take it, then Kol V'chomer, then all the more so for us. And he's giving this in 1939 in the Warsaw Ghetto, right? He's giving this to a bunch of Jews who are stripped of everything and are in the worst of conditions. And he's basically saying in this drash, Hashem, sometimes it's too much. Why is this so hard? And to me, that's actually a really hopeful message, because I think what that says in our tradition is that we can ask and say, why? Why is all of this happening, right? That we don't have to just say, all right, it's happening, there must be something. I think a lot of us tend towards let me find meaning and make meaning out of every experience. But there's also the spiritual practice of saying, this is too hard, we need help. We can't get through this alone. We need your help. We need the help of other people in the world. We need to get through this. And that drasha has always struck me as really incredible, but all the more so during COVID. And especially because it was coming from the Piasetzner, who was an incredible pedagogue and incredible pastoral presence, but he wasn't giving over Torah in this elevated, I'm up here kind of way, and we're all in the ghetto and it's hard, but I'm kind of up here. He's saying, no, in fact, I'm with you. I'm in pain too. And that's the kind of teacher of Torah that I think we really need. I know that's the kind of teacher of Torah that I really need. I need someone who is able to be with that pain and be with the people in that pain. So that is something that has really sustained me.
That is so powerful. I think that we often think that a role of religion is to say, no, you can do it, right? Go on, be strong, everything's okay. And to see this role model of somebody who says, no, it's you can have a religious practice in which you say it's too much, and that still can be part of your religious practice. It's really so beautiful.
It's really incredible. And exactly, that he can remain, the Piasetzner can remain deeply religious. And he was very involved in making sure that Jewish life continued in the Warsaw Ghetto. And he was very committed to that. But he didn't shy away from being really honest with folks, maintaining his bitachon and emunah, his faith and his trust, but not pretending like they weren't in a horrible situation. And in no way am I trying to compare, the Shoah and COVID, but these are both extraordinary times. And who among us, I mean, I keep thinking about it every Elul, in this COVID time, we're in the second Elul of this COVID time, right? And I keep thinking 2 years ago at this point, I was thinking about how excited I was for the Chagim. And I was thinking about, oh yeah, I'm going to go here for the Yemim Menorim, and I'm going to do this for Sukkot and that for Shmini Atzeres and HerTorah, and it's going to be great and da-da-da. I'm going to see my friend. Wasn't thinking at all about, totally took everything for granted. I didn't mean to take anything for granted, but we all do. And who would have even guessed that 6 months later, here we would be? And 16 months later, here we would be. And I think that that's just such a beautiful reminder of like, why is this happening? That we are God wrestlers. We Jews are God wrestlers. We don't take things lying down. We don't like the status quo. We Jews don't like the status quo. We like to push. We're a stiff-necked people. We get reminded of that all the time in Devarim, right? Which is the book we're in right now. But that's part of the religious life.
I love that. Rabbi Tuchman, I wish we could talk for hours about this. This is such a powerful idea, but I am excited to know that you will be coming and speaking for HerTorah in the fall.
I will. I'm so excited.
That will be great. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who's listening and joining us today. I want to wish everybody a Shana Tova, a happy, healthy, and sweet new year. And if you would like to hear and watch more of these videos with our fantastic educators, please go to the SVIVAH website, www.svivah.org, and sign up for our mailing list so that you can get all of these incredible women right in your inbox. So thank you again, Rabbi Tuchman. Shana Tova to you.
Shana Tova. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.